Yeah, save that for later.
Yes.
I did want to start off with a UX IRL segment because why? Like, what's the on button here, and why isn't it just say on?
Is it the Mr. Coffee button?
No, that's
the
not
Mr.
a
Coffee
button.
logo?
That's not a button, but it kind of looks like one. Well, and then there's like, and then all the buttons are like kind of the same, but the labels are like slightly different distances from each one.
Yeah, are you saying there is an on button here?
Well, you press select, and that just turns like if you just want to do a
guess,
normal.
But that doesn't
well,
make
yeah,
sense.
sure, that's the guess. But like, why can't they make that button like a little bigger? Like I mean, this is a cheap coffee maker, whatever. It's not the highest quality thing in the world, but like, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's just annoying.
That's kind of crazy.
That is pretty bad.
And honestly, and also the actual programming of it is like very unclear what you're supposed to do. Like, do you just press hour and minute? Like, how do you start? How do you choose when it's supposed to turn on? I have no idea where to start on this thing.
Got to read your manual, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
manual.
it doesn't need to be complicated. Like, there's really what do you I think you press like fresh brew timer, and then it blinks, and you push the hour and minute until it gets there. And then there's a whole button for brew strength, which I guess is fine. But does that brew strength do anything? Absolutely not. No, there's no difference between those two on this thing.
I think coffee makers are notoriously bad for their interface.
That is true.
They're
I've
just
heard that
really,
too.
really bad. My coffee maker has one button on and off. And in order to get it to like turn on automatically in the morning, I got a smart like plug for it just to get it to turn on and be brewed by the time I was awake.
Yeah, but that's like, I mean, that's the principle of command line software. You just build a bunch of little tools and then you string them together.
It works well, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the I sent you the link for the Big Sur sketch redesign? Oh, there we go.
Are we talking about Big Sur icons?
It's a recurring theme, I think. I think maybe that we should just rename this podcast Big Sur Podcast.
The last time we do this.
It's so impactful / bad.
Okay.
No, anyway, so the sketch, for those of you who aren't familiar, which I'm assuming if you're a designer listening to this podcast, you probably have heard of Sketch, but for those of you who aren't, it's a UI design, vector-based UI design tool. I think we've talked about it in the past, but they posted a blog post just going in a little bit behind the scenes about how they redesigned their icon for Big Sur. So their icon originally was this like orange diamond it was just the diamond, so the icon was a diamond shape. It was good and pretty iconic. So now that Big Sur introduced this standardized squircle shape, they had to figure out how to make it work. So it was interesting to see some of their process, to see some of the ideas that they had come up with. And I thought some of the other ideas that they had sketched out were better than what they came up with. But it's an interesting read just to kind of see behind the scenes and the challenge of trying to fit within a pattern that was introduced with Big Sur and fit like an existing icon into that was interesting. Sorry.
Yeah.
Joey.
Oh no, I was just gonna say something sarcastic so you can keep up with the.
I thought it was cool how they were like in exploring viewing this diamond shape or gem or whatever from different angles. Like here is you're seeing it from the top and that sort of thing. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, so cool. Basically what they did is they took their old logo into Sketch or Figma or whatever they used, or Illustrator, and
put it on a white square.
They put it on a square, and then they dragged their drop shadow slider up, and they made every gradient stronger. That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
Well, didn't you see the top of it before? I can't remember.
No, I think they rotated
it's a different angle too.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
Oh no, I actually I think this is a good application of the style.
I
overall.
agree.
Yeah. Did they always have the 2 lines on
No.
the back of the button?
No, because for a while
Button,
it was
icon.
just this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Back when you could have different shaped icons.
I love this kind of thing too. For in-house stuff, I wish that we did stuff like this too, where icons and like if the favicon was different on our website or on our web app based on what environment you're in. Oh, I love that kind of stuff. It's
That would
fun.
be cool. Yeah.
But then you got to get somebody to actually do it. So okay, I love it. Oh, that one's
It's like a Matrixy one.
very nice.
I like that
Yeah, it
one.
looks like they had fun doing this.
Oh yeah.
This one with the curtain is cool.
That's because this is for private beta. That's cool. I like it. I'm totally doing this. I'm gonna try to get this through. If I get it through at OpenGov, I'll let you know.
This is fun. Oh,
you got the
another
next one
thing.
too.
Yeah. So I am a big fan of a company, a product called Field Notes. They are these little pocket-sized notebooks. They have quarterly limited editions, so they'll create a new book with a different theme every quarter, and then they'll create them in limited quantities and sell them. So I've been buying them for both use and to collect for a number of years now. Don't ask me how many books I actually have.
Hint.
But
It's
He has
a lot.
He has
it's a lot. But every time my wife gives me a hard time about it, I pull up eBay listings and show her how much they go for on eBay. And then she's like, why don't you sell them? And I'm like, no way.
Yeah, what's the point in showing her the eBay listing if you're not going to sell them?
Because they'll only go up, man, just like my Beanie Babies. And my Pogs. They'll only go up in value.
Funko Pops.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so the thing I wanted to point out about this specific limited edition, which is called Snowy Evening, it's their winter 2020 limited edition, is they created 99,999 unique snowflake illustrations. So each book, and that's the max number of books that they're selling. So they sell them in packs of 3. So there will be 33,333 3-packs for sale. Each book is individually numbered because each book has a completely unique snowflake. So I just thought it was a really cool concept to have that many different unique illustrations. Obviously, for people who like me who are weird and collect this stuff, it's even more exciting because each book is one of a kind. So that's kind of cool. But just the idea that they created so many illustrations was pretty amazing. Now, it was done, Brendan Dawes, who was the designer, didn't actually manually illustrate them all. I think he created the algorithm that systematically put them out. But either
It's
way,
still
it
really
was
cool.
really, really cool, and they look really neat to me. Up close, they kind of look like starfish too, which is interesting. But
Does it go over how they printed them?
It probably does. They usually go into at least some detail about where they printed, what they printed it on. I don't know what specific information you'd be looking for, John, but
no, I'm just curious as far as if they really had that many options. I'm just curious how they did the printing plates and stuff, and what type of printing
it
they
was
did.
digital. It was
It
digital
was?
printing. Yeah, it
Which
says
is
right here.
that's. Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah, I know it's
'Cause
small on
typically-
your guys' screen.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, typically they don't do digital for that, but no, that's really cool that they did that.
Well, because there's no way you could make you wouldn't be able to do this with traditional.
I mean,
That would
you
be
could,
crazy.
but it would be an insane.
It would be crazy.
It would be not worth it at all.
Well, yeah,
The
you'd
books would be
need
$1,000 a
however many
piece.
plates you could fit on a single. Or how many books you
Yeah.
could fit on a single plate?
then change all. Yeah, no, that would just be an insane thing. Yeah, that's cool though. Digital printing has gotten a lot better.
Oh, it looks
They're
great.
showing really good presses. Yeah.
It didn't used to have that quality, unfortunately, but
No, not at all.
so I think we're definitely gonna put a ban on Apple after this episode. But
Yep.
there are some big releases recently from Apple, and
That's why we've been talking about it
super
so much.
impactful to at least our daily lives. But some of the stuff we're going to talk about today is impactful to everyone who uses Apple products, because Big Sur is a huge release, and the icons that nobody cares about except for anal designers, that's one thing. But this is like legitimately, there's a lot of interesting UX stuff. This was an article that John found, but so what are we going to talk about?
So this article I thought was interesting. It is pretty it's pretty high level. It doesn't go into a lot of detail, so just keep that in mind as you look at it. But what it does, I thought it might be interesting to take a look at parts of Big Sur that weren't icon related, like Tori mentioned. And this article tries to argue for the UX improvements that have been made in Big Sur. Some of these I agree with, and some of them I don't, and some of them I think were maybe a little bit of a stretch. For example, the first one is the header is user first, and the example is how controls in Big Sur are often hidden and only appear when you need them. I've also heard this, and I completely agree that it's a bit of a usability issue when certain things are only appearing on hover. So that's where I don't necessarily completely fully endorse this article as like, oh yeah, this is all right. But it was interesting, and I thought it would make for some good conversation. I do think that in a lot of cases it makes sense to like hide things and progressively show them, but I also think you can go overboard and it can become a usability issue if you do that too much.
Yeah, I don't mind it in Finder so far, because a lot of their icons are pretty clear. Like, for instance, here, though usually you have a little bit more than this, like these icons to me are usually pretty clear, and I think most Apple users are used to them. However, a couple of the other apps I use took this pattern, and they have so many icons across the top because they have a bunch of things you need to do. Like the one I use is called Tower, which is a Git client. And without the labels there, like I know what the things are, and maybe I'd get used to it eventually, but I had to go turn the labels on because I was like, there's too many actions here. Mm-hmm. Oh, John just went to the Twilight Zone.
I don't know why that happened.
That's funny.
I don't know why that happened.
That's really funny.
Playing a trick on me.
That's
often. The problem with smart lighting.
Like right as you make a cool point, just have the lights drop. Anyway,
I don't know why that happened.
I don't mind it, but I do think that there are some usability issues that come up because of that if you're not careful. There was something else. Oh, yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute.
I think another one of the points, it was just, the point is like surfacing system visibility, and their kind of specific example here was the control center, which is something that appears in iOS, but is now on Mac, where there's basically in the toolbar a little drop down that shows you all of the relevant information for your system in one place. So display, sound, volume, audio that's playing, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, etc., all in one place instead of being in separate icons in the toolbar. It's all sort of grouped into one thing. I think this is pretty cool. You can actually drag them out and drag them out into the toolbar as separate items too, if you want. But I think it's pretty cool to have that. It saves space in the toolbar. It also kind of just brings everything together and gives you kind of like a dashboard bird's eye view of your system, which is pretty cool.
I mean, this is essentially what iOS does. You swipe up and you have all of that, and I think that's why they kind of did that. I didn't know that you could drag them out. I'm back. Yeah, my camera went to sleep. I didn't know you could drag them out, so that's like just like kind of we were talking about with some of the other stuff. I think sometimes Apple, they don't always make it clear some of this power user stuff. Like, for instance, I've been annoyed that I used to be able to alt click on the notification center to mute, like before a meeting or whatever. And now I have to go click do not disturb under there.
Right.
But now that I know that you can drag that out, that's nice. So that'll probably help me. But
Yep.
I don't find that clear at all.
The same exact thing was an issue I had too, which I would always alt click on the notification center icon to mute notifications, and then I had to be like, what did I how do I do this? And I think at one point I turned on do not disturb like forever.
Oh yeah,
and I couldn't figure out why I was never getting notifications. So yeah, that was
now alt clicking the notification center icon is also incredibly hidden. So
right.
I'm not necessarily arguing that that's the best approach, but some of this stuff is like, it'd be nice if there was sometimes a little bit more help with that.
I'll be honest, I didn't know you could alt click the notification button. I was just trying it. I was like, oh wow,
that's neat.
There's no way to know that unless you like Google like, hey, how do I do this? And someone happens to tell you.
Somebody at work told me once, and I was like, yeah.
It's perfect for like web meetings where you have to share your screen.
That's true.
Quickly do not
Okay,
disturb.
we're gonna stick with what's familiar because that's about icons.
This next one I think is also pretty interesting, and I like that they do it. This is actually related to the control center, but his point is giving clear visual feedback, and the example here is in settings. When you're customizing what shows up in the toolbar or in the control center, it actually has a little illustration of the toolbar and the control center and highlights what you've added or taken away and shows you where, which is really useful, especially when, to be honest, when dealing with like the naming of these things, toolbar, menu bar, dock, control center, like unless you're a Apple fan or a pro user, like you don't know what those things mean, right? Mm-hmm. I even get confused, and I would consider myself a pro user or an Apple fan. So like, I think having the visual feedback while you're working with these settings is really invaluable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's it of those.
Like
I have a couple of other things that have been a little bit weird, and maybe it's just me misunderstanding. I think that the way the notifications, when they go in a stack, you can't just like drag the whole stack off the screen anymore.
I hate that.
Which is very weird to me because I don't know. That's the main interaction pattern I had because it's way faster than me like basically double clicking to get the clear all. So I don't know. That one seems strange that they dropped that. Maybe that's just like an oversight. I couldn't figure out the usability reason why they would remove that. Basically, you used to be able to dismiss notifications by just dragging across them. It's
to the right.
Yeah, you could drag the whole stack, but now you can't. You have to click on it and then click clear all, which I don't know. Seems a little funny.
Now you can actually hover over the stack and hover over the X in the top left corner, which is really small, and then there's a clear all button that appears. But my problem with that is you have to be extremely precise, and it's not fun to interact with that. I actually will often leave notifications up there in the top right corner just because I don't want to deal with them, and that's very much not like me. I'm the kind of person who doesn't want any red dots on my phone. So that tells you how annoying that interaction is.
Yeah.
I do like the widgets in this like notification center. I think they look a lot nicer on the Mac.
I like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're trying to align exactly with the widgets on iOS, which actually is a great segue to talking about a couple things about widgets on iOS.
Yeah. So I think widgets are a great addition. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. It's nothing new. Android has had like live tiles, or Windows Phone had live tiles. Android has had widgets on their home screens forever. It's something that I, as an iPhone user, have wanted forever. But I have some issues with the widgets, and it's the first version of them, so I'll be willing to give a little leeway. But for those of you who aren't super familiar with widgets, this is basically just a platform that Apple introduced with the operating system, and third-party developers can build widgets for their apps. They're little squares on your home screen that show you live real-time information. They are available in 3 different sizes: small, medium, and large. We're looking at Tori's screen at 2 small widgets. The medium spans that the width there, and then the large is spans the width and is taller, which is great and everything. But here's my biggest issue. If I added this calendar widget that you see here, which is a small widget, and I said, you know what, I don't like how it's not showing me enough information, I want to make it a larger one, you'd think I should be able to just edit the widget and choose the medium widget or something like that. But you can't. You have to delete that widget, go through the annoying long press process to get back into the widget creation screen, and then add it again, but as a medium one. And then if you don't like the medium, you have to go through that process all over again, when all they could have done is let me, in this edit widget menu we just saw in the recording here, all they had to do is let me change the size of the widget from there. So I don't know if that was a technical constraint, if it was a design constraint, if it was something that's coming later. The interesting thing is that Mac's notification center widgets let you do that. If you right click on the widget, you can change the size right from there. So it's a weird discrepancy between the two OSs, and it's a huge headache, and not a great experience, from my perspective at least, on iOS.
Yeah. I mean, it could totally be a technical thing for this first version that they couldn't get around. Because I don't know if you guys have had this issue, but widgets sometimes just don't update very well, and they'll get stuck, and sometimes they get stuck in loading states and stuff. So I think it's definitely kind of in a late beta feel to me.
Sure.
And I even in working on some development on widgets recently, there's definitely some weird stuff that happens, that some of it's probably on our end, but it's also it's just on because basically you create a preview of the widget so the operating system can render it when it doesn't have all the data and stuff, and it just I think that they'll probably polish some of that, but totally agree. Why can't you just change the size right there? In fact, I for a while I searched around. I was I don't want this to be small anymore. I want it to be big. And nope, just got to go delete. And then I don't know if John, you mentioned it, but when you add a new widget, it just moves your whole screen around, which in one sense is really convenient, but it's also I wish you could, it kind of just does it a little bit inanely, not
it
how
does.
I expect. It it splits my icons up all over the place, and I'm sure that there's some algorithm that's doing its best, but it does not feel right to me.
Yeah, I constantly, if I rearrange any app on my screens, especially if they're mostly full all the time. I mean, most people's are, but I hate when it accidentally will pop one over that you're not meaning to, and then you're no, I was trying to go just over to that side of the screen. And you have to do it all over again.
Do either of you have issues with dragging stuff between screens?
Yeah.
I feel the new version I'm having a little bit less trouble, but I've always had the hardest time getting icons to move to another screen, because you have to go right to the edge and then hold it there until it recognizes that you want to go, and sometimes it'll cancel the whole thing, and then you have to long press again, and it's
that's actually what I mean too. That's when mine happened.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sorry, but it's such a pain. It's annoying. Because you're just trying to shift it over, you're saying, to a whole nother screen, and then it'll pop 2 or 1 over to the previous screen. Yeah, it's just, that's actually honestly why I haven't messed with widgets much. So I'll be honest, I don't have as much experience as y'all do with making these widgets, but I just haven't messed with them because one, it's a hassle to I have all my apps arranged the way I like to use them, and so I just haven't wanted to redo it all.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like it is a hassle, and I think they're really cool. I think there's some key like experience things that need to be refined over time. And I mean, even without widgets, I think managing apps on the home screen on the Springboard was pretty annoying. They did introduce things like, this was a while ago, but where you could like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but where you can like hold a widget and then tap other widgets, so you can have like more than one widget grouped in like that you're holding at one time, and then with your other hand you can like move from page to page. So I end up doing that because it's easier than trying to like hold the widget with one finger and drag to the screen. But either way, it is a headache, and I think widgets have added to that. Am I saying widgets? I don't know. I might be saying the wrong words. Anyway, I think widgets have added to the frustration of managing things on the Springboard.
Well, it's an interesting conversation, though, because they're trying to provide the power that people have been asking since the first version of iOS, and since Android started like dumping stuff onto it, like on its own. People have been asking for this kind of stuff, and this is the reason why Apple doesn't add them. Because how do you give this power user stuff while still in like making it feel as easy as iOS has always felt? And I don't think it's entirely possible. Like,
and there's a serious like limitation, which is the input. Like you don't have the precision of a mouse and a keyboard. You're dealing with people's like sausage fingers. And it's just like, how do you create complex interactions when everything has to be big and is so touch based, because there aren't, keyboards or, hardware buttons built in that you can interact with these things on the screen with. Like it's a tough challenge. So, I complain about it, but I also know that it's, I don't know how I would fix it, really, to be honest.
I agree.
Yeah. These are tough, really tough interaction problems. I love widgets though. I think they're amazing.
I think they're cool.
I also love how you can just throw apps off your screen entirely. That has been so nice, because I don't know if you can see in this. Well, I know you can see if this video will load again. This section right here, the middle section, is the Siri app suggestions. So I don't even have to have icons on my desktop. I just have the Siri app suggestions thing, and it shows me like 8 apps that I happen to use at this time of day or whatever. Right. It's so nice because I only have 2. I have 4 pages right now because I'm doing some testing, but I normally only have 2. Just main icons and then widget page with the Siri app suggestions. So I love that kind of flexibility for like just allowing people to do what they want. So that side of things is great.
That is cool.
Next, I hope they start letting you interact with the data on the widgets. That would be a nice next step.
Well, you can tap on it.
Yeah,
that's it.
Normally, it's not an issue, except when you have like a to-do list and you're like, oh, I'm gonna check that thing off. You tap it, and then boom, it opens up the app, and it's like, oh,
I could see them adding that. It's just, I can also see widget developers doing really stupid things with that kind of thing. So they might be like, no, we're not doing that.
It's another tough problem, because if you do like allow the user to interact with portions of the widget, how do you open right now, if you tap on the widget, it opens the app. So like, how do you differentiate between like touch points on a little tiny widget on the screen? Do you take away the whole like opening the app in general, but that means the developer has to have some kind of interaction, or otherwise it's just going to be like a dead place on the screen. Like it's a tough problem. I don't know what the right answer would be.
I'm sure you're basically making a mini app
inside. It's like an iframe.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd like the interaction on that in a lot of cases, except for maybe big widgets.
Yeah, it's tough.
Do you want to talk about iMessage threads? Or do we want to move on to something else? Okay. So I don't actually know. I guess it got introduced in 14, but I'm not really sure. But at some point, you started being able to, this is a good example, to do threads in iMessage, which just
How do you do that?
You long taps off the wazoo.
It's the same. It's the same way you like add the little reactions to a text.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little button that'll say reply.
I think I have a video somewhere. Yeah. So anyway, you long press, and then you press reply, which you couldn't tell, but I pressed reply there, and then it does this blurred out view, and then I like having threads available. Yeah. So. Okay, the concept of threads is fine, and I like the way that you can use them, but like the actual way that they've implemented this it
looks so weird.
In my opinion, very hard to follow. Like in a
Super hard.
single person conversation, this is just John and me messaging inane things, so that's maybe not helping, but like what in the world is going on here? Like I literally I have to like sit there and think what message is each, like why are these stupid little lines? Sometimes they have a curly Q in them for some reason. It's very weird.
Yeah, you'll have to explain it to me because I honestly am looking at it. I've never used it.
So what happens here? This first one up at the very top says, I was thinking we could review. I replied to it, or John replied first, and he said, I like that idea. Then I replied again and said, I like having threads available. That's that thread. If you come back, now that the one at the very bottom where I says, I do too, that is also a reply to the same thread. But because it's not contiguous, they do this they do that outlined message to let you know that that's what it's like a quote. Like in Slack when you say send to the main thread. It's not a new concept, but the way that it's presented, at least visually to me, is like it's both too small and too much, too big. Because like look how much space all of this takes up. Like I'm on a thread with 3 people for doing some development, and we do like replies, and you get to it and you're like, I wake up in the morning because they're on behind me time frames, and I'm like, I don't know where to start reading this stuff. Like it's not helpful. It's too much.
One thing to note too is like if you tapped into that I do too thread, then you would get the like focus view, which is where it blurs out the background, and you'd see the whole thread. But yeah, I agree. It's weird. It's confusing. I was thinking a little bit about this and trying to figure out, okay, like what is the root issue here? And I think the root issue, and then everything else kind of stems from it, and the difference between apps like Slack is that you have the two sides of the conversation on different sides of the screen. Like one is right aligned and one is left aligned. So if you compare that to Slack, for example, I think, unless I'm wrong, maybe I should check this before I say it, I'm pretty sure everything is left aligned in Slack, so it's all the same, which I think gives you a lot of flexibility when it comes to like these UI layerings and like representing that something's like part of a thread. Because Slack does kind of have similar things where if you're in a thread conversation, you can have a message also send to the main thread, and I think the way they handle it is, it can be confusing, but it's a lot better than what we're seeing in messages.
Well, they have more room. Like
they have more room, yeah.
That helps.
Yeah,
also, it's optional to send back to the main thread, which in iMessage it is not, because it's a completely different use case. Like I get why it does it automatically, but like it's all of these things that add up to like a very convenient feature that is, in my opinion, like just needs another couple passes on it. Like I feel like it could work. Like it's not that far off, but it's like I guess I go back to like these like connecting things like kind of give me an idea because they're that visual to the left, so at least I can see that it's a thread. But it like some of this stuff takes up so much space. Like also like around that emoticon there, the emoji, there's so much extra, like it's like I don't understand why some of this stuff is taking up so much space, and it makes it like very hard to like scan. Like I think they have the white space to try to help you differentiate between this stuff, but it's like not quite consistent enough for me to like know, I guess.
Yeah. I was just looking at Slack just to verify what you were saying, John, at least on the app on my phone, not on the main computer app. So it is all left aligned, and they basically indent from whatever post it is and have a line similar to like these little connectors we have in the iMessages app, but instead it's just a straight line down pointing to the replies, and it has like the people's pictures, their avatars. It says 2 replies, and you just click it and it opens it up. Which that is nice, but then yeah, that's a hard thing to do for messages because they've been one way for so long.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't like having more than one-on-one. I don't really like using messages in a format that needs threads consistently. Like I'm using it right now with some friends working on an app, and it's like where we do all of our like Slack type messaging, and I really hate it for that. iMessage just isn't set up to do all of the stuff that I really like, even about like Discord, even though Discord doesn't have threads. There's just something about those types of traditional chat interfaces that works really well for that kind of conversation. Whereas messages is all designed around like instant quick, whereas Slack is a lot more designed around asynchronous communication, which is a totally different interaction pattern, which is why I think you start seeing some of these like weird clashes because it's like trying to pull in this cool feature to something that, not that it's not entirely useful because I like it, but it's definitely a bit of a clash.
Yeah. I mean, I think I agree with you. I think they're trying to make it more Slack-like and make it easier to have group conversations. I just think their implementation of it in this version didn't really hit the mark.
It's just definitely. I don't see it as. I personally wouldn't use it, as far as I can see. I would rather just go to a app like Slack because that's what it's meant for. And maybe they are just trying to keep up with the times or trying to make it expand the use case for it. But to me, I would think they would want to keep it pretty similar, but I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like Tori is against his will in a conversation in messages. Like I have a family, like larger family group in messages, and it's hard to get people out of that. Like if that's what everyone has, it's hard to break people out of it and suggest a new app. So I appreciate them trying to make it better and make it more, Slack-like in that way, because there are, you get stuck in certain apps for certain messages and you kind of need to stay there. So,
we even did that with the podcast. Like, we started in messages and then we were like, we'll try Discord. And that mostly works, though we have some weird issues with notifications, which is so strange.
Yeah, who has that?
Not just John. Like, it is funny because it is mostly.
It has been all of us at times.
Too, but it happens to us too,
I think it's mostly with my phone for the Discord thing. My notifications have been odd for not just that app. So I got to just dive into my settings and stuff.
Oh yeah, and I forgot Discord just actually added replies, which I just actually did to see what it looked like. And it actually is using a similar thing to iMessages. Maybe we'll talk about that in a future episode, do some comparisons. Okay, Dribbble Roulette.
Dribble me, Tori.
Don't.
This looks like, I was just going to say, this looks like Procreate. It is a redesign of
Remember,
a Procreate app.
These are, for those of you who may be new to the podcast, we do this segment called Dribbble Roulette, where I randomly pick, usually with random numbers given to me by my wife, I just randomly pick a number of scrolls and across the page on Dribbble without picking. Unless there's one that I just feel like isn't going to be at all interesting to talk about, which is rare. So that's what this segment is. And then we quickly talk about each of them and do a little either critique or something. So this is the first one.
I just pulled up the...
Yeah,
so,
I was going to say I did the same thing. I pulled up the...
original?
The actual one. I like the actual one better in terms of it. It's supposed to be a feather. I'm guessing it's supposed to be like
the original.
Maybe it's not a feather. I don't know. Anyways, I like it better because it
Like a quill. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a quill.
Kinda. Oh, a paint. The original was maybe a paintbrush or something.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, that does look like a paintbrush, doesn't it? In the original.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. But I just like it a little better because it fits the space better, I think. There's something with this one. If you could bring that one back up. I think it's
a little
too small.
Yeah.
Like if it were a little thicker, like width-wise, maybe.
And if it was a little more curvy, like the original, maybe. I like that they changed up the back part of it. It has two separate, going away. It kind of shows that blending of the two colors together. That's pretty cool.
It's definitely a more minimal take as opposed to the original.
It's not bad. I just would prefer the other one, I think, better. Or maybe one more closely aligned to the original.
Yeah.
I agree. It's a little too small. I don't like on the original, not the original, but the current actual Procreate app icon. I don't like that it's so close to the edges. Like I think this is...
Yeah,
I think maybe a happy medium between the two would be the perfect spacing and size.
Yeah, that is really close to the edge. Huh. Yeah. I didn't notice it on the big one, but
I do think that in this dribble shot, like I miss some of the colors. I like I like what they did. I like the more flat, kind of like translucent like layers style, but we're losing a lot of color, and I kind of miss that.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like they really were trying to focus on that blending of the colors because you have the red and the blue blending to that orange or salmon color.
Which is cool. I think it's cool.
But that's actually, never mind. That wouldn't be right anyways. What am I saying?
It's the same
I don't like it.
Logic that
I like it, but the colors are not the right.
This color is great.
It should be.
That's exactly how it blends in nature. It's amazing.
Yeah. Never mind.
And then if you take this
totally wrong
if you want to make a Big Sur version of this icon, you just give it a big drop shadow and then an inner white background and then an inner white thing so it looks like it's a real feather.
I think now that's my biggest thing I don't like is that it doesn't actually blend the way it should blend. The colors should go together because you see them crossing over, and I just don't like that they separate and they don't work together. The colors don't.
Yeah,
I don't mind that down there as much because up closer to where they blend, like you get that more purple feel. So like to me, it just seems like maybe more of like just the artists kind of taking liberties, which I'm okay with. But I see what you're saying, John. It's interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, grape and olive. Oh, wait, gray
and olive.
Gray
and
must
olive.
Be gray. Wow, my brain saw grape. There's no grape, just gray.
To me, this isn't like a style that I like, but to me looks very much like something you'd see at one of these types of stores. Like it fits the brand, like the type of thing I would expect to see at like a place you'd go to at the outlets or even in a nicer one or whatever.
I agree.
I don't love it because I don't tend to like this style of icon, but I think it actually seems to fit what I would expect, which is important, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's executed well. Again, like you said, it's not my style either, but it does fit what seems to be the brand that they're going for.
I almost feel
they
like
probably
I
could
want
lose
like
a couple leaves, maybe. I don't know.
What'd you say?
To simplify it, maybe lose a few. See if they could lose a couple leaves, but that's.
Yeah, I don't think it would work that well small, would it?
Yeah, small it might not be as readable. But
what do you think about the type pairing? Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, go ahead. That's all right. I don't mind it. Yeah, I don't mind it either. I was gonna say I wish there was a little bit more space between the name and the boutique text. I don't know why they feel a little close, but just like pixels, not much.
I think if they ever tried to if they did this lockup small, by that I mean what we're seeing right here, if you tried to print that small, Boutique is not going to be printed very well.
Yeah.
If it's a print thing.
Yeah.
Or readable, because it's just so small compared to the large symbol or icon. But again, you can adjust things.
Like, would you handle that by
specifically.
just having like a version for small print then? Is that how you would
Probably.
handle it?
Probably. They really can make the text larger with this. But for Dribbble, it looks good.
At this size.
I'm just thinking at this size. I think on a use case. It just depends. It just depends on how they're going to use it. Because they can clearly use the G by itself. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But
No,
John, but
I was going to change the subject slightly.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I was going to go back to the branch. I like this concept, and I think it, like at first glance, I thought it was nice. The one maybe nitpicky complaint I would have is the leaves. Like it looks like he kind of mailed it in on the leaves. Like they just look like sort of flattened circles, and there's no like shape to like leaf shape to them. They just look. It looks like he took those ovals that the olives are made out of and just kind of flattened them and maybe sharpened the edges or something. Like, I don't know. I just, the branch part of it, you can see it has varying widths and it's got like a nice little natural curve to it. And then the leaves just kind of, maybe that's what olive branches look like. I don't know. I'm no like olive connoisseur, but the shapes of the leaves are bothering me a little bit. They're pretty, like, it's not too far
really
off,
accurate.
but a little bit of natural, like if you look at that illustration to the right there, the bottom right,
like have a little bit of variation. And
there's just a little bit of like natural variation to the leaves, which I think could be helpful here.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially at this size
catch.
where there's this much detail, it might be nice.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Next one. Wow.
My eyes.
It's crazy going from that logo to this, which is
Yes.
Boom.
it's
a tiger, all right.
It's cool. It's a cool like style. Do we have any context
It
for it?
doesn't have any context with it. No.
It looks like it's his name.
It looks like he's just doing a style of, like,
illustration, poster,
an
type
exercise.
things.
Yeah.
Cool. It's a cool exercise. It's neat how he did a lot of that.
I think it has a lot of like momentum to it or something. Like it just feels like it's It feels like it fits in the upcoming game Cyberpunk 2077.
27. Yeah.
That's what it really looks like to me. Like it has that like really punchy vibe.
Mm-hmm. Looks like something that could be with like either a snowboarding type or skateboarding type brand or like a music label.
Also, if you replace this like middle thing with like an old school video game illustration, this is just like an 80s, 90s NES game cover. Like it has a lot of that feel too. It's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're right about that. And my only complaint really is that I would have liked to have seen a little bit more like of the digital interference on the actual tiger. Like, so basically like on the left side where you see it, where there's just the picture, like the image is very clean. Like I would have liked to see like some digital smearing. I don't know how to say that.
Yeah, like some
basically
shifting.
like
Yeah, that would be cool.
yeah, like the digital stuff on the right side there just feels like it's like thrown on top of a stock image instead of like altering the actual image to feel like it's being digitally, whatever. That's the only thing that's nitpicky, but I feel like that would have made it feel more like integrated as a piece. But it is cool.
Yeah, that would be really neat to have it sort of like a transition or parts of it be purposely
pulled away a
done
little
digitally and simplified.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that would give it a little more depth too.
Mm-hmm.
It has a decent amount, but I think that would just add like a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess I have a couple of recommendations too, if anybody wants to hear. And
Let's
then
do it.
I'm not going to talk too long about them, but I've been reading this book for work. My boss has been having we have like a learning club thing, and this one's been, I'm not super far. I've got to get 5 chapters in by Thursday, which, you know how book clubs always are, but I'm several chapters in, and it's been a lot. There's a lot of really good, helpful advice on how to, as the title says, articulate design decisions, which some of that stuff is things I do, but a lot of it gives you kind of like a framework that I think is really helpful, especially if you need to present like something up the chain a little bit higher. Though I think that some of the principles really like it's meant to apply to any situation for designers, but like Pope, I think it would actually it's kind of around UX, but it's actually really around just talking to clients too. Like it's not just that. So even though it does talk more about product design, it's actually, I think, something that any designer could be interested in, at least somewhat. So that's my recommendation. Cool. Not cheap, as most O'Reilly books seemed to be not cheap, but I didn't buy it, thankfully. These are interesting. I honestly am not sure if I would want these, but I wanted to share it because I think this style is really cool. And I guess this section is also just kind of inspiration too in some cases, but like I think this is cool. I mostly also said this because I really like Frank Lloyd Wright's architecture. I think it has a lot of like really interesting, like how it fits in with the environment and all of that. So I found these to be interesting if anybody wants to take a look through.
They're, for anyone listening, they're Frank Lloyd Wright homes illustrations that someone's done.
Yeah.
Are they posters that you can buy or just?
I don't know. So it's funny. They were like commissioned by Home Advisor. Like Home Advisor did some, like, I don't know if they're trying to be influencers in their space or something. But anyway, I found that one pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
That is cool. And that Articulating Design Decisions book is a really good one, Tori. I've read it too. I really enjoyed it. It's one of my favorite O'Reilly books. I'm reading an O'Reilly book at the same time too.
Oh, cool.
But not the same book. So I have a recommendation or two. And I think it was our very first. Actually,
Is this the one you wanted to do first?
No, that's okay. I'll
can
start
do
with this one.
first.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that. We are in sync. So it was in our first episode where I talked about my issues with Simple and some of the budgeting changes that they had made. And so I have since found, this is not a bank, but it's basically like a Mint competitor. Now there are a lot of these now, but it's by the makers of Quicken, which is no longer the makers of Mint. Used to be. It's kind of confusing, but whoever owns Quicken now also makes this budgeting, like financial third-party software that like links your banks and lets you track budgets and keep track of things. And this is one of the better ones. Unlike Mint, it actually has a pay plan, which I actually like. I've been begging Mint for years to get rid of all the ads and recommendations and let me just pay like a low monthly fee because I, don't like those other things and I'd be willing to pay. And so Simplify is basically that. So I'm still evaluating it and testing it out, but I think there's a lot of promise. And so if you are interested in well-designed apps that, bring all of your accounts together and show you interesting things like net worth and as well as like just standard budgeting stuff, I would say check it out. As you can see, if you are watching, there is a 30-day free trial. If you're not watching, you can go to simplifymoney.com.
Side note, I really hate when buttons entirely change their color on hover. Ugh.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Well, and this one is.
I can't see your mouse
at all. If I move
cursor.
Yeah, how about if I
There we
move my
go.
mouse fast? Yeah. Anyway,
Looks like
and your
it's-
other one.
Yeah, so this is one I had actually put this in the notes originally for us to talk about, and I never got around to reading it, so I'm just going to make it a recommendation for myself and for everyone else to take a look at, and maybe we can talk about it if we get a chance to read it in a future episode. But InVision recently released this report that's all about scaling remote teams, specifically kind of product teams, and so being someone whose company, even before the pandemic, was a fully remote company. And now I think for all of us who are in many ways still remote, I think it's an interesting read, and it's something I look forward to because it's very relevant, I think, in the state of kind of where we are at as designers today, being remote. And so there's a lot of, from what I've seen, interesting data and analysis in the report. So check it out.
I'm excited about that one.
Yeah.
And then I think we have the most impactful recommendation of ever for this podcast.
I agree.
From John, and that is,
this is the Microsoft Paint ugly sweater you can buy. It's possibly the best Microsoft product that I've ever seen. I love this one. I forget where I found this, but it was on some article, and they were advertising it. But it's Microsoft. You can go to their Xbox Gear store, and they're selling an actual ugly sweater that's either made from or just based on Microsoft Paint. It's just ugly and fun, and I like that they actually play into that.
I like that it's actually knit too. Like I've seen ugly sweaters that are just sweatshirts that are like printed. It's an actual knit sweater, which is cool.
This is.
I'm probably never gonna buy it.
I came
it's
very
$70.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can find it, Tori, but there's also a Windows XP and a Windows 95 version, and the 95 version was the one that I was like really tempted to get.
Oh, there they are.
There they are. I love it. They're both really cool.
That is awesome.
Oh wow, that one's really sold out.
That's cool though.
Yeah. So anyway, I think this is our best recommendation that we have ever given. So
I love the title in the top left, Untitled Paint.
Oh, that's
now
so
we just
true.
Need to get,
and there's
we need
snow.
to get like
Do
a
you
code
see
we
the
can
snow?
give out.
What, John?
So they should give us a code now that we're advertising their sweater.
Seriously,
That we
can use.
Tell all of our listeners.
So good. I think that's a great note to end on.
Yeah.
So Merry Christmas, everybody, because how long of a break are we taking? A little bit.
Oh yeah, we're probably gonna take a break until January at some point. Early January we'll probably record. So yeah, there will be a little bit longer break. Although this past break was a little longer.
It wasn't too long.
We had
right?
No, it wasn't too bad. It was just a little longer than normal, I think.
Yeah.
Because we had some scheduling conflicts, but we'll probably take another little bit longer than normal break, but we will be back in January. So don't fret if you don't see our show in the feed over the holidays.
Cool.
So yeah, thanks for listening.
I love how that's
It's almost like on purpose now. The awkward.
Do I say that every time? That's awesome.
Because John and I both just kind of sit there, and then you're like,
It's just like no one's talking and we don't finish it.
I don't think we should ever come up with an actual ending because the awkward endings are the best, and I think they should be like part of our part of our shtick.
I think so. Yeah, you got to have something. It's not going to be anything
right.
else, so it can be that.
Did we you guys said something about a show title while I was talking, but I don't know what I actually said. So do we want to
something
come up
about
with a show
in
title?
sync.
Yeah.
Oh, we're in sync or something like
Yeah.
that.
You said now we're in sync.
Yep.
Now we're in sync. All right, I'm gonna make a note of that. Were there any other good title options? Should I spell it like in sync or n sync the boy band?
Either is fine with
I
me.
mean, it's not how I meant it, but
My
it would
computer
be
is
a
like
better title.
freaking out for some reason.
Yeah, your camera keeps going off.
Well, that's separate.
Nah,
I know what
that's right, you
that.
said
I know
it's
what
going to
that
sleep.
is.
Plug your camera in, Tori.
But my computer is like, OBS, stop using 100% of one core. It's like, dude, you have 6 of them. Why are you freaking out?
Yeah.
You need an M1 chip in there.
I know. Oh, so I read today they're working on 32 core.
I saw that too.
For
That's crazy.
Wow.
Mac for the Mac Pro, which makes sense because they need more than the. I mean, the big thing is like on they better have MacBook Pros that have reasonable amounts of starting memory, because it's non-user replaceable memory. Like.
Yeah, I think
because
the one
they
today
want
is
it
like
to
a
be
max of 16,
performant,
right?
So it's like 8 gigs, which isn't really enough
Yeah.
to run big programs, even if
Oh.
it's more efficient.
Well, you can
which
get
I
16,
have-
but that's the max. Which
Yeah,
is
but
still
I'm not
pretty low.
paying. I don't want to pay Apple for their ridiculously overpriced
Yeah, it's
memory
insane.
upgrades. Like that's what I'm.
It is a
saying.
lot.
Like
Yeah.
I have 64 gigs in my tower. Okay. That cost me a lot at the time. It was like $600. But to do that on the Apple Mac Pros, that's like 10 grand sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Well, like the computer I use now that my work got me, I mean, I'm using half of the 32 gigs. I don't even have any
yeah,
design software open right now.
it's just how. Well, if you have Chrome open, there goes.
Oh
That's-
yeah,
yeah.
Chrome's
There goes
taking up
all
a
of it.
lot. Yeah.
That's why I use Firefox right now, because I was tired of that. Well, John, do you have to be done? Is that what?
Yeah, I guess so.
Me too. I gotta go do something.
Yeah.
It
Same.
was fun.
Cool. Well, episode
right, guys.
6 in the bag. No talk
Yeah.
next time. We have a pact. No talk about
Apple.
Big Sur icons unless it's a joke. That's okay. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's a good recurring joke. Just don't talk about them too much. And no Apple. We got to do. I was thinking. I think I put it in Discord. I was thinking like maybe it would be fun for us to do like accessibility reviews of some apps, where we actually like go and use their accessibility features. And like rate a couple of popular apps on some key workflows.
Yeah.
Also,
like
just
that.
as kind of experience, because I find that stuff pretty interesting at how hard it is to use apps in
Yeah.
accessibility situations. So maybe we could do that, but we have some time to think about it. So
Yeah. Cool.
I'm really interested in knowing what. I mean, I don't mean to start another conversation, but things like Salesforce buying Slack. I just want to know if they're gonna actually put in their standard Salesforce or Slack by Salesforce with it, because to me Slack is such a big brand.
yeah,
You wouldn't need
I think
it.
they would be. Yeah, that would be a bad decision to at least too quickly like try and merge the brands.
Yeah.
it will be very
tough.
interesting to see what kind of integrations they want to do, because historically Salesforce has done a lot of integrations that they actually like pulled into their sales platform. But Slack isn't like, I guess they could pull in a version of Slack directly into Salesforce, but that doesn't really make any sense.
Right.
So it will be very totally. That would
My
be
guess is there's
interesting.
way more users on Slack than Salesforce typically ever uses, because like
Well, maybe daily active users. In
that's
some
what I
cases.
mean, like everyday users.
But Salesforce brings in oodles more money than Slack, which is why Slack got bought.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like Slack got, like they say Slack was bought at a discount because of because its sales price has fallen, which is crazy because they bought it was like 75 billion or something ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
but they said that was a discount because of how much Slack's stock price has dropped because they didn't grow as fast as they thought they would. So
Interesting.
anyway, see
All
ya.
right.
Merry
See ya
Christmas.
later.
See you guys later.